I think this one's going to be more fun than the rest because we totally, just for transparency, we planned this an hour ago.
We keep promising every episode we're going to move on and we're going to cover training, leadership and recruitment. But I feel like we just keep having things to talk about related to sales.
Oh God, we could talk for days.
And I think we've been talking about more sales focused content the last couple of days. Hence why this has all kind of come about. So I think the best place to start is how do you get good at sales?
Oh God, loads of stuff. How do you get good at sales? I think you first of all have to understand what sales is. I'm going to go on a big rant here.
Surprising.
Huge
from
rant.
You. Surprising.
From the moment you're conscious, you're selling.
Right.
You're always selling yourself to someone. Why does a baby smile at the dad, and why do babies smile more at the dad than they do the mum when they're born? Because they're selling the idea that the dad should love them. It's actually natural.
Is that like science?
It's actually why babies have big eyes, so the dad falls in love, because there's no, and again, anybody who's in medicine who probably, I might not explain this great, but the baby's got a natural connection to the mum. So your eyes actually don't change size as you get older. They've got big eyes, but they tend to, I've got 4 daughters, right?
Right.
And when we were young, they always smiled at men. They always smiled. Those guys, women would talk to them, they wouldn't move, and guys would look and they'd be like smiling. And apparently when they're born, they tend to smile. It's to get the dad to love them, because there's no natural bond with the dad. So they tend to smile more at the dad, so the dad loves it, and they've got the big eyes, so the dad looks and thinks it's really cute straight away.
My goodness.
And apparently babies have features of dad, so the dad thinks it's more like them, so there's a connection.
So they can see themselves in the kid.
Yes. Like, nature's unbelievable, but you're always selling. You're selling for your kid. Do you think about anytime you wanted anything in your life, you devised a pitch, you picked your times, you gave it everything, you never accepted first answer. You closed. All the things that we train people to use in sales, I actually point out where in their lives they already unknowingly used it or had it used on them. So when we're teaching people how to sell and understand psychology, you understand psychology. You understood when mum was in the right mood or the wrong mood. You knew when to push mum, and you knew when to stand off. You knew when to, you knew when to kind of be tough and get in it, but you knew when to be loving. So the whole idea, and sorry, when I use the word manipulation, I don't know why I apologise, because you got to understand that sales is influence and manipulation is deemed as an extremely bad word, only because of Netflix and all the silly documentaries about serial killers and stalkers who manipulate people for bad things. That's unethical manipulation, and we're probably I'm covering a question that I know we've got for later. But get good at sales by, first of all, understanding what it is. As the art of getting people excited and influencing people to do things that you want them to do. It's ethical if it's good for them. It's unethical if it's not good for them, but good for you. So I think a lot of people don't like using the word manipulate. There's nothing wrong with that. You've been manipulating people your whole life. Unfortunately, some people do it for bad reasons, which is unethical manipulation, which is what we see in the news and seeing all these, my wife watches all these serial killer documentaries, and they're just really manipulative people. But so is the 8-year-old kid who wants to get a pony. They're manipulative. My 11-year-old daughter boasts to this day about how she manipulated me to get a dog.
She really did.
She takes pride. she takes absolute pride. She actually tells people the line she used. She used the line with me one day. What was the line we were walking? I was adamant I wasn't going to dog. And kids are the best salespeople in the world. They're persistent, they've got positive attitudes, they really think about what they're saying, they get super creative, they build greed and love, they fear a loss we love, they do all the stuff we teach people. You just watch kids, they're great salespeople. I always tell my wife not to give my kids in trouble for trying to sell ideas to us or try to push us to get us to do things, because it makes them bad kids but great adults, because they're going to have to be persuasive when they get older to get their own way. 2 years of persuading and devising different sales pitches and methods for my kids to get me. I used to send me pictures of dogs that were cute. They'd all gang up on me sometimes together. And when I was walking to the shop when she wasn't 11, I think it was for How long I had that dog for? 2 years?
Yeah.
It must have been her 10th birthday was coming up. And I asked her what she wanted, and she says a dog, and I says, I've told you before, you're not getting a dog. You're just not, point blank, getting a dog. Because I'll end up walking the dog, cleaning up after the dog, feeding the dog, and you'll moan every time I ask it. She's just not getting a dog. Why are you still asking for a dog? And she says to me, because you got to have dreams, Dad. And I'm like, are you serious? Walking down the street on a Saturday. You've got to have dreams, Dad. And I'm like, whoa, that cut me a little bit deep. She went, you've got to dream big. And then this was the kicker. She says to me, have you ever really wanted something really bad, but knew you weren't going to get it, but you kept trying anyway? And I'm just like, she just describes sales.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I went home to my wife straight after that and says, I need to buy her a dog for her birthday.
Was there not a dog in the house like a week later or something like
Her
that?
birthday was like a week or two later, so we went and bought a bloody dog. She literally, when people ask about her dog, boasts about making that up to get to me. She manipulated me. That little crafty girl knew exactly what she was doing. Dream big, because she knows I always talk about have big goals and dream. Have you ever really wanted something? She knows I talk about persistence all the time, so she knew how to sell to me. She figured out how to get the yes out of me she'd been trying to get for 2 years. She manipulated me. But it was ethical manipulation.
Yeah.
She wanted a dog. It made her happy. Believe it or not, I love the wee dog. It didn't hurt anybody. It wasn't unethical. So again, when you think about it, So I think understanding what sales is actually learning how to influence, manipulate, and persuade people to do things that they quite particularly, not that they don't want to do it, because that's unethical, not that they don't need it, because that's unethical, but it's just a decision you kind of geared them towards making that they weren't thinking about making.
Where everything's placed in a supermarket is all for like manipulation and how to get, like, they will put like bread and stuff at the back, so you have to, like, the most common things, so you have to go all the way to the back of the supermarket and pass everything. So like the world of sales. And
what's at the desk of every supermarket? What's at the till of every cafe and supermarket?
Yeah, like
the guilty pleasures. The stuff that you can walk past.
Yeah.
But when you're standing in the queue, and the donuts and the cakes and everything, the branding of companies, the colour of Christmas, the clown in McDonald's, it's all manipulating you to make a decision to buy a product or a service or as. But even in everyday life, when you go and try and make friends, or you're trying to find a lover or a husband, you're always selling, you're always selling, you're always manipulating. Or why do people get dressed up when they're going on a first date? Why do people act a wee bit nicer than they probably are on a first date? It's manipulation. And again, there's nothing wrong with it if there's no one getting harmed, and there's nothing wrong with taking a bit of pride in getting really good at getting your own way. Because, if you don't get your own way, it means somebody else is going to get theirs right. I think you're always selling it. If you go into a restaurant to get a table, sometimes you've got to talk your way into a table, right?
Yeah.
How good you are at selling will determine whether you get a table or not. We've experienced that.
We've got quite a few tables when there was no tables left,
apparently. Remember, they made tables up for us, just because there's a lot of things that happen in my life personally, and I'm sure yours, because you've done sales too. And you've been
a long time.
You've been in the industry a long time, and you did sales, and you understand selling, right? You understand persuasion and manipulation and how to get people excited and how to get people's emotions going. So we've I'm sure you get your way loads more than you would have if you weren't in sales. I definitely do.
100%.
Loads of things I get done for me just because I'm good at getting people to do stuff, and I think taking a wee bit of pride in that. So understanding what sales is, taking some pride in, and understanding how useful sales are. But I think we covered this before, and how to get. There's only one way in the world to get good at sales, and that's go work in sales. But if you are in sales, I suppose, get really excited and understand the other part to sales is you're dealing with human beings, like product exchange, right? So I'm in sales for 22 years nearly. I'm 21 and a half years in. I've sold thousands of different products. I've worked with different service providers. I've done it in different countries and continents. I have done it to people with different accents in different places and all this kind of. There's been loads of things change and evolve during the year. People haven't. So also understanding that sales is dealing with people, and therefore if you want to get really good at sales, you have to understand, like if you were fighting an opponent, the best way to fight your opponent, or the best way to beat your enemy, is to understand your enemy or understand your opponent. Strengths and weaknesses, how they work, and you learn how to play your opponent and win the game, right? your opponent in sales is going to be the customer. So customers haven't evolved. It takes human beings evolved. They still give the same excuses for not buying as they did 20, I'm sure 30, 40 years ago. I just wasn't in the game at that point, but I'm sure since the 1950s, people actually haven't changed that much. Our behavioural patterns, our human psyche, our psychology, how we're built, how we function, our impulses or lack of impulses hasn't actually changed that much.
Yeah.
So if you want to get really good at sales, get really good at understanding people. I read a book the other day that was called How to Read Anyone. I'm still trying to figure out how to read people and analyse and deal with them better. It's like a sport. So once you start to look at sales like that, like every time I get into a conversation, I seen a cracking comment once by a guy online called Brad Lee, and he says there's always a sale done. The customer either sells you the idea why they're not buying, or you sell them the idea why they should buy. Like someone sells to someone. It's true, right? Someone sells to someone. So when you look at it like that, it's like a little
dance,
battle. But yeah, 100%, it's a game.
Yeah.
It's a game. And as a consumer, when somebody tries to sell something to me, I like playing the game. I call it making them work for their money.
Yeah.
The more expensive the thing they're trying to sell me, the more I want to watch them dance for it. But it's a game of wits. It's a game. So I think understanding the value in sales, I think understanding that it's a people game and not a product game. A lot of people can only sell a product, right? They really like selling energy or solar panels or insurance or financial products, and that they're like. But if you're product dependent, then you're good at selling a product. You're not good at sales.
Yeah.
You want to be able to sell anything, anytime to anybody. That's sales. That's sales. But it's being a sales professional means the product doesn't matter. I get taught that. No one ever actually explained that to me. But when I first started in sales, the company that I worked with changed products every 10 days. So I realised very quickly that if I got good at selling the product, in 10 days I was going to have to get good again.
You went through some weird things as well.
That's sold some crap. But again, it was ethical sales. It was crap. And even when I was selling something that wasn't that good, I sold it ethically. Is that a way of saying it?
Yeah.
So I sold it ethically because someone would say that's a piece of crap, and it is. But if you've got a use for it, would you rather spend 20 quid in crap or 5 quid in crap?
I'm also pretty sure you've told me this story that you would sell something on the point that it'd be really bad. Do you have someone in your life that you want to get them a really rubbish present and see their reaction on Christmas Day?
It was the stationery books. I remember these. They were stationery books. They were horrible. They were, I'll never forget, the company I worked with gave me these things to sell, and they were stationery sets. And they were green and white checkered stationery sets, right? They were about this size by that. And you took the lid off it. They were really heavy. And I had like all these wee different notebooks in it and pencils and whatever. But they were green and white checkered sets. And they had sheep on the front of them. And I get told I had to sell these things for £5 in Glasgow. I pulled a face, but it was either sell them or don't make money. I worked in commission. And we used to call it creative pitching. So I had to come up a way to get people to buy this. I mean, I looked at it and thought, piece of crap. And then I thought, wait a minute, let's have some fun with it. So instead of just trying to sell people a stationery set, I remember creating a pitch where I was really honest and say, I'm going to show you these. Just before you look at them, they're disgusting, but hear me out. And so I'd pull them out to show people in businesses, and I go, all right, so they're disgusting, but hear me out, which created a bit of curiosity with people, because they're a bit curious. Because it's quite weird for a salesperson to say, I'm going to show you something, but it's horrible.
Yeah, I understand you probably won't want to buy it.
Because what do salespeople do? They try and sell it. They're like, I've got this unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? These buzzwords, but I'm like, there's not a shot. If I'm trying to find anybody who finds these unbelievable, I'm not going to sell any. So again, I was really transparent, as I always was, and really honest. I'm like, these are horrible, these are disgusting, but just hear me out. And I'm like, and I thought, have you got anybody in your life that you ever have to buy a present for? You know, birthdays, anniversaries, Christmas time. Have you got people like that in your life that you don't really like that much, that you have to buy a present for just because you're related to them? And I'd get, again, not everybody would agree, but then when I get the yes roll and someone would go, yeah, I got someone like that, I'm saying, great, here's why you should buy this. The reason everybody else has bought it is because when you give them this present and watch them open it up, you're going to get the joy of them pretending that it's nice when you know it's not. And you get to see their face for £5 a set.
I think That's incredible.
How many people you got you don't like you have to buy a present for? I'll take 2, mate. I'm like, no problem, man. And it was just, and I sold them all every day.
That's brilliant.
So there's some people, all right, if you ever watch this podcast and at some point 20 years ago you get a horrible green checker stationery set,
That's
the person that gave you it knew it was horrible. Shame on you for pretending it was nice and it was my fault.
Blame him.
I put the idea in their head. So again, but that's sales. It's giving people a reason to buy. It's not just going about and selling the product. It's giving people a reason to buy the product. And again, it's not, again, I never get excited about that. There's loads of things like that I sold. There's loads of things like that I sold. And just, you know, but I was in a position where I had to make money. I was on commission. So it was either sell it or don't make money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had loads of things I sold I wasn't exciting. I mean, people could use that. It was cheaper than they could get it anywhere else. You know, we would genuinely sell things that would retail for, you know, we'd work in low profit margins, but, you know, if it retailed for 15 quid, we could sell it for 5 quid and make a small profit, but sell more of it in volume, right? So it was stuff that people would buy. I suppose if you go to the pound shop, a lot of flashbacks when I get to the pound shop, see these knickknacks.
You're like, oh, I
We
recognise
little
that.
tool sets and, you know, little light up pens and little fluffy toys and stationery sets and all these wee dodgy tool kits you get for a £5. And, you know, before the pound shop and the Asda's and they all worked on low profit margins, started concentrating a lot on more volume, then the company I worked with did that. So you could take something that retailed at 30 and sell it at 10 and still make a couple of quid off it, or still make a £5 off it and split it. So, but there was loads of stuff. I never sold anything that anybody couldn't use, but the best, you know, sometimes I sold some really cool stuff and sometimes I never sold cool. But if it wasn't cool, I never told anybody it was cool.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to get creative.
Yeah, I used to sell these watches and they weren't the best, but they were a tenner. And people would say, do you know, you get a guarantee? And I'm like, you get a 30-yard guarantee. And they're like, what's a 30-yard guarantee? I'm like, you can't catch me after that, man. And I'd have some fun with it. And I'm like, it's a tenner. If it lasts a day,
annoyed at you for having a laugh
you know,
at that as well.
but if you went to other shops in town, they were selling them for 30 quid.
Yeah.
So I'm like, they're like, it's a piece of crap. I'm like, I know, but we'd rather pay 10 quid for crap or 30 quid for crap.
Yeah.
And they're like, 10. I'm like, great.
Ideal.
It still looks expensive, but I never had any complaints. I've never had anybody. Again, I've never sold something to someone that they didn't want to buy, or I've never talked anybody into buying something that they couldn't use. Even when people would say to me, I'll take something just to give you a turn, they still chose to take it.
Yeah.
The old boys in glass. You know that term, a turn?
Only because you've explained it to me.
Yeah. Old boys would just, because you were having some fun, they liked it, and they'd find a use for it. Do you know what I mean? They would find a use for the bottle. Maybe they'll drink sparkling water, but they bought it because they liked you and they'd find it. So even then, they were always choosing to do it. So I think, we started in the question about how to get good at sales. As you can tell, I get quite excited about it. Fall in love with the idea of being able to have the ability to get people excited about doing things. I think it makes your life a lot easier. It makes parenting a lot easier. Definitely makes dating a lot easier. And marriage a lot easier, although my wife knows all the Jedi tricks. Unfortunately, I married a lady who's in sales, so anytime I try and use my sales tactics, she says to me, I'm not one of your customers and I'm not one of your people. That works beautifully on my kids. So yeah, I think... It
also works well on you, apparently, according to your kids, though.
Oh, my kids are good, but I admire my kids. I never, ever, ever give my kids in trouble, ever, for continuing to ask. Too many I'm going to give some parenting advice here. What makes kids annoying makes them great adults. You get some adults that don't want to haggle for, like, I'm always asking for a discount. What's wrong with asking for a discount? I never accept the first answer. Why would that? Why would it? My fault says you're like a dog with a bone. I'm like, but why not? I think that gets beat out of you as a child.
Yeah.
Do you know when parents say, I told you no means no, and they're quite hard and get really upset and ground kids and get kids in trouble for it. You're teaching your kids not to be persistent. Do you know what I mean? Which is a big part of sales, is being persistent. I'm not pushy, I'm not arrogant, I'm persistent. No does mean no, but unless it's a harsh no, that maybe means I'm still open to it.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
No with a smile on your face means I'm still open to it.
That means it'll be yes tomorrow.
It's like, nah, yeah, you know. And again, as a kid, you understood this, but it gets beat out of you. And then we have this dirty, tarnished industry called sales, which, by the way, nobody would be in a job if somebody didn't sell something. No one. If Sainsbury's didn't sell food, nobody would get a job cleaning the place or filling the shelves up. And so sales is I mean, it's the source of a company, is it not?
I remember you saying before that every industry in the whole world, or every company in the whole entire world, uses sales, whether that's like a charity, like a not-for-profit, like a church, a school. Like, it's every single company on the planet.
Selling an idea, a service, or a product. Yeah. You're selling an idea. Like, you know, what we're not going to talk religion. I'll not go there. I'll get some people upset. So we're just not going to go that route. But let's just say every company in the planet, a not-for-profit, right? I've been involved with not-for-profits. My mother-in-law runs a not-for-profit. They've got to sell the idea that the charity's doing good. And the better they can sell the idea of the good that the charity does, the more people will donate. Yeah. The worse they are at selling that idea, the less people donate. And if a little amount of people donate or contribute, there's no charity. There's no good work. Yeah. The more people contribute, the better. I've worked with not-for-profits. I've done fundraising before, which for me has been the most fun form of sales ever, because you're actually doing a really good thing. It is not only you being ethical, I think you're doing your bit for society. Mm-hmm. But working with them, like the not-for-profits are run like any other business on the planet. That's it. And people get upset when not-for-profits have to pay people to do work. But the more profit they've got, the more good they can do. The less profit they got, the less good they can do. So, you know, they have to sell. A lot of people get upset with people standing in the street trying to get chat. But they need the money to do good. It just doesn't grow out of thin air. Unless you've got the ability to print it, which very few people have.
Get in touch with us. Give us a call. We'll get involved in that.
My kids still think it comes out of thin air. My 3-year-old still asks me why I have to go to work.
Well, I was told once when I was younger, money doesn't grow on trees. I said, well, actually it does.
Well, actually it's paper, yeah. These days, my daughter will say, where's your money? I'm like, on my phone, and she just looks at me. So if I've got my phone, I can't deny having money anymore. Because kids are, well, you got your phone, haven't you? I'm like, I've no cash. They're like, you got your phone, Dad? Mum got her watch on? I'm like, yeah, Mum's got her watch on. There's cash there. It's a shame my 3-year-old found like 5 pence the other week and looked at me and says, you don't have to go to work anymore, Daddy. I'll pay for everything. Apparently you can get to Dubai for 3p.
Well.
I asked her about holidays and cars. Yeah. She's like, yeah, I'll pay, Dad. You don't have to go to work.
Yeah, quite right.
So
I think, so anyone watching or anyone that knows you knows that you're probably what people would classify as a natural salesman. I know your nana used to say you should always get into sales and stuff like that.
Just call me Hot Lips.
And she actually was like, because you just never
shut up. Because I never shut up. Yeah, my nana used to call me.
Things haven't changed.
Well, you know, I used to call me Hot Lips and she's like, you should be in sales. And I'm like, I never want to be one of those people. I really was anti-sales guy.
Yeah. Well, look at you now. So
that's because I thought they were all sleazy scumbags, and then I realised that they weren't. That was just a very little amount of them.
Well, exactly. Be the change, is that not a saying?
There's still plenty of sleazy scumbags in our industry, but
yeah. Oh yeah. But so you've got what you would say would probably be a stereotypical personality, or you would associate you with being someone who'd be good at sales. Do you think you need a certain personality type? If so, what is that personality type? What sort of person would it be? Or is it something that everyone can do?
I don't think there's a personality type that's good or bad at sales. I know people in sales that are exceptional at sales that hate people. But some of the best sales guys I know have no time for human beings, but they're unbelievable at getting. That's supposed to take a wee bit more pride in taking it, right? And taking yeses and getting money from people. You know, again, as long as they do it ethically, that's fine. But they, nah, you don't. I've trained far too many. I've had people interview with me, sit at me. There's one guy, and maybe you'll see this, he was called Habib, right? And he's a lovely young man who interviewed with me years and years ago, the very beginning of my kind of sales manager career, right? And he sat down and he couldn't look, I swear, he sat the whole time and couldn't look me in the eye. Couldn't look me in the eye. And I says, why are you here for a sales interview? Like, what are you doing for sales jobs? And he says, I'm really uncomfortable with people. I have social anxiety. As you can probably tell, I can't even look you in the eye. But I know if I get into sales, I'm going to be forced to learn to get comfortable with all these things. 3 months later, if you'd told anybody that this guy has social anxiety, couldn't look you in the eye, and was nervous in conversation, no one believed us. Wow. No one believed us. he was proof, and I've got so many other examples. He comes to mind straight away because he just turned into this very confident, and I'm doing this because he do this a lot when he talked, and you speak to him, he's very
Make a lot
certain.
of eye contact at the
Yeah,
end.
he was very certain of himself.
Yeah.
So I wish sometimes you could take, because when you see these confident salespeople, everybody finds it hard to believe at some point they were not confident.
Mm-hmm.
And you see these maybe people that look very brash, but that's not who they are naturally. They've learned to be enthusiastic. They've learned to be confident in communication. They've learned body language, and they've learned all this stuff. But I've seen far too many people who you would look at and go, no chance would they be good at sales.
Yeah.
Get good. I'm not being optimistic. I'm not being overly positive. I genuinely think, and not just sales, if you want to do something bad enough and you're willing to do the things that you have to do to get it done, I think there's not very many things you can't do. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people think they have to be, I thought sales was full of brash, outspoken, loud, overconfident, immoral people. And then
in my head, they all wear gold chains as well.
Gold chains, pinstripe hairy chest, and top two buttons open, and probably a gold tooth somewhere. This is bad image of sales. But most people have. But the girl that first trained me in sales was this lovely, well-spoken, well-dressed girl. I've just seen so many different types of human beings be unbelievable at selling. And there's so many different styles of selling as well. It's like, if you play sport, right, there's so many different styles of being a midfielder, a striker. If you look at fighters, if you just look at UFC fighters, boxers, the stance, the style of punching, the kicks, the hands are high, the hands are low, the shoulders roll, the shoulders not, they bob, the weave, they don't put their hands up. There's just so many different variations. Sales is like that too. There's not just, that's what's so good about it. As long as you come into sales, anybody can get good, but what's key is they find the right people to copy, they find the right style to pick. Because the person that's outspoken is going to have a certain style of sales. There's a lot of enthusiasm and probably a lot of transfer of energy. Yeah. But the introvert who's not high energy, when they try and become high energy, it just comes across really weird and awkward, right? The wee guy Habib, if he tried to be animated and fun, it just have been so weird.
Weird, yeah.
Because it's so far away from who he was. And I think the number one thing to the sales is that the best energy your body can give off is when you're being genuine. Mm-hmm. I say science a lot now, because a lot of people think sometimes I pitch things to them because I'm a sales guy and I make everything sound sexy and nice and we're pitching things. But it's now proven that when your body gives off energy, when you're being genuine, that's the strongest form of energy.
Yeah.
So when you try and pick a style of sales that's so far away from who you are, then you're not yourself anymore, you're not genuine. So it gives off bad energy, which means you never get the trust factor from people. So you've just got to pick a style in sales that would suit you. There's people that you'll see online, if you read 10 sales books, everybody's got, people are like build rapport, and some people are like don't build rapport, and some people go push and overturn every objection and don't take no for an answer, and other people are like find the right customer first and be nice. But they all work.
Yeah.
Just the same as, I'll just use boxing because I'm into boxing. There's loads of ways to defend a punch. Some people choose a shoulder roll, and some people put their hands up, and some people put their hands down and use the reflexes. They all work. You just got to figure out what one works for you.
Yeah.
The best way. So now, there's not a personality type. There's not a person. I don't think the good thing about sales is it's equal. I've seen people in their 60s come in with no sales experience and get good. I have a 17-year-old that does sales with me who
does incredible as well.
Crushes it.
Yeah.
Kid made a £1,000 bonus last month. At 17, he made like $3,000 at 17 years old. But sales is good because your age has got nothing to do with anything. Your gender's got nothing to do with anything. Your background's got nothing to do with anything. It's pretty fair.
And I think the good thing about it is it makes everyone equal. It takes away any of your, your age, your gender, your background, how you're brought up. It kind of makes everyone equal. It makes everyone on the kind of same playing field. And I think it's the most fair industry because none of that matters.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing maybe that I've seen is people kind of coming in is just a willingness to learn. Like that seems to be something that, people that come in, regardless of what they're like or who they are, is just a willingness to learn.
Yep.
Maybe that's a mindset or a trait that I guess people would have in common? Any other traits that you can think of?
Oh God, traits for salespeople. A work ethic. You have to be obsessed and be a good student. And then positivity. Like, but not positivity as unhappy, like
Like,
like a fairy, right? Like, you know.
fairy.
Yeah, Barnett, people think
Positive fairy, like.
fairies are always overly positive. You watch fairies in cartoons, they're always overly happy and overly positive.
I can't say I've watched many fairy. I
have 5 children on it. I have every reason. And do you know what I've promised? I went to watch a kids movie 2 weeks ago called If. If you've not seen it, watch it. And I promised myself I was never going to watch kids movies because they're so positive and so happy. They just make you feel good. I'm always going to watch kids movies, especially got fairies in them because they're overly positive. But sorry, I'm going to talk about attitude for a minute here, right? Because loads of people have this misconception. Is that the word? Not good with words. Misconception of what an attitude is. When people in sales talk about having a good attitude, they mistake it for enthusiasm and happy. That's not a good attitude for me. I don't care if you're happy. I care you what you win.
Yeah.
I care that you're going to get your attitude is your perception towards doing well.
Yeah.
That's it. If we're in war, I don't care if you're smiling. I don't care if you're happy. I just care that if we're going to get into this battle together, that your attitude is we're going in it to win and we're going to give it everything. Like that's any team. I don't need my football players to be happy. I need my football players to have a winning mentality. So I think a good attitude in sales or a good attitude to anything that's performance based. And I think sales, you say it's a fair industry. I think sports equal to it. Sales is a good equaliser. It humbles everyone and it doesn't judge you based on anything. It's like sport. You're judged purely based on your work ethic, your skill level and your mentality. They're the 3 things that contribute towards a sports person. The effort they put into their trade and getting good at it, the skill level and the effort they put in every game or fight, the skill level they have and their mentality goes a long way to how well they do in their preferred sport. And I think sales is the exact same. That's why I've always enjoyed sales. It's like a sport because you actually check the scores at the end of the night and you judge yourself based on the result at the end of the night. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of industries where you're judged based on you get through your to-do list. And I'm not saying it's the only industry you're judged based on your results. Everything has KPIs. But sales for me was a good buzz when I started because, if you're into sports especially, sales is definitely a good industry for you to get in because it's like, getting a sales like scoring a goal or catching a punch and learning how to bounce back for a loss is no different for learning. You get beat at sport and you put your head in the sand, you go back to the drawing board, you come back, you play your opponent the next time and you try and beat them and you keep going until you beat them again.
Yeah. 100%.
So, come back to answer the question, there's no personality that suits it. Just the same as there's no one type of person's good at sport.
Yeah. No, 100. And I think relating it to sport is so true in a lot of the mindsets because when I think about, different cities that we're in and the different people that kind of run those different cities, 3 of them have big football backgrounds and things like that. And I don't think that's a coincidence.
Nope.
I think it's all very transferable and all very, very, very similar indeed.
Yeah. It suits people that are competitive, proactive, driven, hardworking, people who just want to win all the time and get better. Doesn't mean you win all the time. They just want to win all the time. They're just always trying to be better. Again, if you're not sporty, it doesn't mean that sales isn't the right industry for you. Just, it doesn't. But anybody who comes into sales comes in because they want to improve in something. Some people come into sales just to improve their communication skills. And again, if you want to learn how to get good with people, what better way to learn to get good with people than going and trying to actively influence people to do things that you want them to do? Like, it builds your people skills, it builds your confidence. I've had people that were going to be doctors. I've had people that were going to go be in the police and people that have wanted to go be psychologists, come in to get sales experience because they knew they were going to have to communicate with people. A GP has to communicate, a police officer has to communicate, a a doctor's going to have to communicate, and they're going to have to learn how to deliver news. They're going to have to learn how to deal with hostile people, right? They're going to have to learn how to deal with everybody. So over the years, I've had a lot of smart people who realise the industry they're going to go into requires them to be good at dealing with human beings, who come into sales to openly tell me, I just want experience for 3 months because I'm going to be a GP and I want to be really good at dealing with my patients, and I don't want to get into it not knowing how to deal with or get into the police. So sales is really good because it gives you valuable skills that help you in other businesses if you intend in dealing with people.
And I think that's something that I guess surprised me when I kind of came into the world of sales. When someone said to me, you know, talked about sales before or whatever, you would just assume it would just be the words that someone would say. You would just assume sales would be this pitch that people would say to you. And I think one thing that I've learned is that sales isn't, the words that you say is such a small percentage of actually what is involved in sales. So outside of I guess, how much of a sales pitch or kind of selling to someone is the words you say, and what else is it made up of?
I mean, words hold weight. Words definitely make a difference. The words, specifically, one word can make the difference to a sale or not sale one way. I learned that a long time ago. I'll tell a story because it proves words. So it is important, but there's loads of other stuff that contributes. So it's such I don't know, 20 to 30% of it's that. It's like the words to a song could be sung by 10 different people, but only one person sings it good. So the words also did. Anyway, we'll get into the story when I realised how much one word change makes a difference to something. So words are powerful and words do hold weight. And how you say those words holds weight and where you say the words. So there's loads of different ways. The structure of the pitch, the order you put it in, the tonality, the speed of the voice, all this kind of stuff, right? But I remember I was having this problem selling a product which wasn't crap books. It was actually a really good product, believe it or not. So I had no problem selling the crap product, but I got this really good product. It was a briefcase. It sold for 30 quid. We got it. We're selling it for 10. I'm getting into businesses. Couldn't sell it. Call my sales coach up. And I'm like, I'm having this problem. Usually I'd sell things like this really fast. I was decent at sales. Wasn't the best salesperson in the world, but I was good. At a decent level, right? Yeah. If I played football, I'd play in a top 10 team if you compare it. Maybe not Man City, but I would have played in, if you're comparing,
would have been the Premier
I'd have been up there, but not the best. I would have been 200 grand a week, but I'd have done if you're comparing, right?
Yeah.
So I remember calling my mentor because it was very unusual for me not to be able to sell something. And so I was always the person to give things. I must have actually been better than what I'm giving myself credit for, because every time I get something new, you give me it to go figure it out.
Yeah.
I was good at figuring out how to sell things, right? And how to come up with the pitch and how to structure it.
So what you're saying is you were messy.
I do realise now that I was good. I'm doing a thing about everything a new product is like you do. So I must have been better than what I'm giving myself credit for, right? I'm still in it, so I must be decent, right? And I've done quite well with it. But anyway, I call him up. I remember actually, there's a place called Helensburgh. I was doing business to business sales. I could tell you the doorway I stood in to call him, because I'll never forget this. And so I go call him and I say, something's up. I'm doing everything that I know to do. Like I'm at my skill. I'm using all the skill I have. I'm working hard. I'm really positive. I'm contributing all the things I usually contribute to get a result. And it's not working. Right, it's not, something's not clicking. Yeah. And so he says to me, just go through your pitch. And so I go through my pitch, blah, blah, blah. And I go through my whole pitch and he's like, okay, I know what you need to do. And I'm like, what? And he's like, when you tell people how much it is, change pound to quid. And I'm like, excuse me? What do you mean change pound to quid? They say, so when you tell people it's £10, say 10 quid. 10 quid sounds less than £10.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? And he's like, so he explained it to me. He's like, when people say pounds, they stretch something out. When you say quid, think about it. When you're talking about how much your new Yeezys were, you're bragging. You'll say £270 or whatever they were, right? Yeah. If you're asking mum or dad for the £270,
make it as small as possible.
You make it sound as little as possible. When you're asking for something, when you're bragging about what you spend, you make it sound like more. And so he taught me this over the phone quick. And I'm like, so the only thing I have to change in that whole pitch is quid. He says yes. I sold every one of them in the next 2 hours.
Wow.
I walked back into his office that night, pointed at him and called him an effing god. And that's the day I realised that one word made a big difference, because words hold weight, because it's persuasion. So again, when I say quid, you perceive that as being less than pounds. So it's the influencing you to think it's less than what it actually is.
Yeah.
And if you start to listen to things and watch commercials and do it, you'll see this being done. Why is everything 99 and not pounds?
Yeah, because at least it's a number lower.
Because people won't say it's £13, they'll say it's just under £13.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's just that little thing is just actually 97 pence. I discovered that 97 is a better number than 99.
Because people are clocking on to 99?
I'm involved with e-commerce, and 97 what's better than 99.
Well,
I still don't understand why, but for some reason people buy more stuff at 97 than 99 because it just seems like way less. 3 pence of a difference is a difference in probably a 50% growth in sales. So small things make a big difference.
Yeah.
So words are a part of it. The other part, I think I'm just going to hit on this, is any sales book I've ever read or any good salesperson worth their salt I've ever paid attention to always talks about being a good listener. Even people that have scammed people, that have done things wrong that are on TV, I'll not talk about and, do podcasts or whatever. And even them, when they talk about it, they're like, if you ask people the right questions and you listen properly, people will tell you how to sell to them. People will give you the things that you can say and tell you their needs and their desires and their wants and their values and all that stuff. So I used to think a salesperson was just about bombarding people with information and bombarding people with and doing a good sales pitch. As I've got older and wiser and way more experienced in sales, I actually realised that speaking less and listening more is good, because it's the difference between someone who uses a machine gun trying to shoot everybody and someone who uses a sniper rifle. Mm-hmm. So great salespeople will be like snipers. They won't talk a lot. They'll just ask the right questions. They'll just listen actively. And by I mean listening actively is they'll take the information for the customer, they'll tell them things, and they'll gather intelligence and then build up a way to sell it to that customer specifically. When I was a new salesperson, I just ran in with a machine gun and shot and hoped that the bullets hit something.
Gave them everything and
just
thought,
speak it. But yes, someone once says to me, you get 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. There's a hint when you look in the mirror.
Yeah, that's quite a good way to think about it.
2 ears, one mouth. Just look in the mirror, it'll tell you what you've got to use more. Your ears are more important than your mouth. So I think listening's another skill. I think body language, I think there's a huge part of how we interact as human beings with body language. There's things like confrontational versus non-confrontational, and confrontational would be like security poses. The best way, if you watch security guards, they make themselves big, hands behind the back, arms folded, and it's square on and it's confrontational. Non-confrontational, legs crossed, not a threat, distance away from people, you're not in their personal body space. So there's loads of little things that kind of trigger human beings to be defensive. So if a guy's chest is out and another guy, they approach someone and they get too close and the chest's out, the other guy will go automatically into defense mode, especially in alpha, because as soon as you get in somebody's personal body space or you pump your chest out, another guy will naturally pump his chest out. And it might be a girl thing as well. I'm using guys as an example here. If you're in people's personal body space, which is the I've got to say wingspan, but their arm, mine's isn't big, you can get close to me, right? But people's circumference, if they've done a twirl with their arms, is their personal space. And when you step into that space and they don't know you, I'll crack the short jokes in here. But when you step into that space without an invitation, people automatically become defensive. And so you got to be aware of human psychology and human behaviours, and it's not what you say, it's how people hear it, and it's not what you intend them to feel, it's how they're feeling already. Sometimes people take stuff different ways based on how they're feeling, so it's also learning how to read your audience. It's learning how to read the person you're talking to, their emotions, their situations. So it's good that this book I read the other day, which is How to Read Anyone, and I talk about this a lot, and poker players will understand this, or anybody that's good at cops and security get all this stuff. It's learning micro expressions. It's learning how to actually read people and actually listen to the words that come out people's mouths. Because your face will tell me what you're thinking. Things like...
It's quite annoying when you do that.
It's a superpower.
Amanda, your eye twitched. I'm like, no, it didn't.
Yeah. People give away how they feel based on it. I'll tell you a fun fact from this morning. So I got into Hugo Boss today, right? I got a sale on. Get an email for Boss. We know I'm a big, huge fan of Boss, right? I get a boss today, the guy who's in Hugo Boss. And if he watches this, he may get upset. But anyway, we're going to tell it because it happened today to me, right? And because I've learned the art of reading people, I know how to read eyes and blinks, and if people look up or sideways or down, what it means, and people's body language, how they come across, if they feel defensive, if they're comfortable, if they're uncomfortable, if they're threatening. Like, years of experience has taught me this stuff. But it's annoying for me sometimes because I know when people are talking shit. I know when people are upset at me. I know when my kids are lying. Straight away, which is good as a parent.
Yeah.
It's bad because I tell my kids what they've done, so my kids are going to become really good liars at some point because they're going to learn the art of not giving away micro expressions, because I'm like, you blinked when you says that, which means that's a lie, or something you just says was a lie to me, or you look to the right, or anyway. But anyway, I was in there today and I was in looking for shoes because at the weekend I got some good deals in blazers at the outlet. So I like blazers for 70 quid, which was great, right? So I went in for chinos, came out with 3 blazers because there was a sale on, super sale, which was great. But I don't usually, so I usually get into this boss and buy and sort of between the two, and again, and I know the guys, I've been shopping there since I was like 15 years old or something, right? I just like the clothes. I think they're good clothes. I know they're a wee bit overpriced, but they fit me well and they feel nice and they last a long time, believe it or not. Defending myself here on Hugo Boss stuff. But anyway, so I'm talking to him and there was nice blazers there, and I'm like, oh, nice blazers, and he tries to say to me, oh, you should, try a blazer on. I says, no, I got good deals, like, and he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I went to the outlet store and he went, oh, really? Did you go? And what kind of deal? And I'm like, I got 2 blazers for 69 quid each. 69 quid. Under
pounds.
7. See, I asked it at 69 quid.
Yeah.
I was that good. I'm like, I'd be stupid not to buy these. And then I told him I got the other one, and these usually cost 480 quid, but I got 3 of them for 330 quid. And I made the mistake of saying I really love going through to the outlet because I get some bargains. So I don't need a blazer because I got 3 good ones in the outlet store. And he says to me, oh, that's really good. But when he says good, he blinked. He done this. That's really good, and shut his eyes, which meant he was fabricating a lie. He didn't feel that way. He was lying to me. He didn't. He was. It wasn't angry, but you could tell that he just didn't give a shit because he couldn't sell, and he didn't. He wasn't being rude.
And he knew you wouldn't budge.
But just he done. When he done that, anytime he says anything about it, he shut his eyes, and I hate having it sometimes because then I know what people will feel. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, all right, no problem, have a good day. He's like, okay, see you again. Because he's wanting to get a sale at me.
Yeah.
And I gave the business somewhere. It's quite right to be upset. I get it. So I think, again, I take great pleasure in knowing that stuff and watching people and being able to read someone's face when they walk through a door and telling, or someone's rolling eyes and spot all these, again, they're micro expressions. Even when someone's trying to control their expressions and their emotions, or they call it in poker, their tell.
Yeah.
The retail. My wife watches these podcasts, and she pointed out in the first one that I touch my arm when I don't know what to do with my arms and I'm nervous. She's like, you play with your arms, and if you watch the first one of these podcasts, you'll see me play with my arms. And I didn't realise I was playing my arms. It was a tell. She went, you do that when she spends a lot of time with me. She's like, you do that when you're nervous. You play with your arms. And I watched it and I'm like, oh God, I do. I touch my arms a lot, and I was doing that a lot. But you notice now I'm trying not to do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if other people realise that's what, I don't want people to be able to read me, but people that are in sales, i.e. my wife, they'll pick up on these wee tells. So I think sales is not just the words. Sales is being exceptional at delivering information, at building value in things, about wordplay. So wordplay, knowing what word to use, how to use it, where to put it, and when to stick it there. And when not to. And I think it's the ability to read and analyse a person that you're talking to, and also being able to adapt. This is for exceptional salespeople. When first people start in sales, they've got one way they sell and they attract a certain type of person because that's it. Like, they just have one track. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a one-track pony. But if you want to be exceptional at sales, if you want to be good, you have to get exceptional at reading people, at understanding people, at understanding human psychology. And when you say a word a certain day, where that's going to sit and how that's internally going to make someone feel and make someone think. Like there's trigger words. We called email in our other business, right? Which made me better at sales actually. Because I'm so used to selling face to face.
Yeah.
I'm so used to having someone in front of me and I had body language and I could read the eyes and, you know, I could really control a situation. I could see if they were nervous or standoffish and I could qualify a lot easier. And in a digital media business, like we cold email people. We got loads of clients from it. It's how we get business. We literally find people and we just cold email. And we have lots of fun doing it. But we learned a lot about words that trigger people, even the timing of it, right? So when people read an email, the way they take the tone is dependent on the mood they're in.
Yeah.
So we don't send the emails on a Monday morning, because what mood's most people on a Monday morning?
Not the best.
Again, we had to understand our audience.
Yeah.
We had to understand, we send our emails to CEOs. So we had to get into the mind of a CEO and go, when you're a CEO, when would you open up an email and what would trigger you? And you have to think about the ego. If this is the person who's in charge, they're a confident person. So when you tell that person that something's bad in their business, you're going to trigger the ego, and they're going to be like, it's bad, but I know what I'm doing. Because every CEO thinks they know what they're doing. Every entrepreneur or somebody that runs a business makes a little bit of money thinks they're good. So we had to learn how to get past that ego. So every time we send it, we're like, all right, we're sending we're trying to bypass the defense system. It's like they've got soldiers standing there ready to fight. We're like, how do we sneak? It's like SAS. How do we sneak past? And we have a great time doing it. Sometimes, don't get me wrong, sometimes when we don't go when we can't get past, we just go to them.
Yeah.
Sometimes the way to sell with people is just trigger a reaction, at least. So we have lots of fun. But that emailing, more than anything, taught me about how much weight a word would hold. So when we're going to tell something bad news, we preempt it. We're going to tell you something you probably don't want to hear. So you prep them for it, because if you tell them what to hear, they get defensive really, really quickly.
Yeah, because we were talking about this yesterday actually, and you were saying that if you're going to tell someone bad news, you're going to say to them, I'm going to tell you something that you might not want to hear, but X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. And there was a few other things that you said yesterday.
I'm sorry to say that.
Exactly.
We say, I'm sorry to say, because nobody can get upset at you for saying I'm sorry to say.
Yeah. And
I'm sorry to say your product's not that good.
Priming them to accept that what you're going to deliver next.
Yeah.
But you would never think of it, and you would until you understand, like you said, the importance of the words, especially when it is like in emails and stuff, when there is no tone and there is nothing else bar the words on the page. Mm-hmm. I think it is so important to every single word to analyze and think, okay, how can this be taken? Yep. And how can this be taken wrong? And if it can be taken wrong, do we not do that or not say that?
Yeah, and it's like a sport, but that's what I'm saying. I love it. I was on the phone sorry, we're going to get away from sales and selling face to face to what. When we talk about these emails, I was on the phone to the boy in my business way with that, and he's in San Francisco at Meta's headquarters just now doing some seminar, which is awesome. And we were talking about something we left out in the emails. We left out in the last bunch of emails. We usually say that you have all these problems in your business, we can come fix them, because we go into websites and we tell them the problems they've got and where they're losing money and where we can make them more money. Which we've made people a couple $100,000 more a month for fixing it, so we're confident in what we're doing. But to make the CEO feel good, we usually says, it's all right, we know it's not your fault, you probably pay people to do this. Mm-hmm. So whether they done it or not done it, we're stopping them getting angry, thinking we're accusing. Yeah. And no one responded to our emails for the past 10 days, and we realised we'd left that line out. So I'm like, we left one wee bit out, and it changed the unusually never opened, and then we realised this morning we forgot to tell them it wasn't their fault. So they probably upset a lot of people because we've worded it wrong, and not because we've not sold it properly. We've triggered their ego a wee bit.
Yeah, triggered it, but then not stroked it in the end.
Not brisk, because if you're a CEO, you probably need you need told you're great. And there's nothing wrong with that. You have to feel great to be a CEO and be in charge. And if you're an entrepreneur, I take my hat off to you. And anybody who makes any money in business good, I think it's great.
Yeah.
But people are very problematic sometimes when they think they know what they're doing and they don't. That's quite a hard person to sell to. But again, challenge. Yeah. It's an absolute challenge. We got a client that took us 7 months to get. So sales isn't an instantaneous thing either.
No, it's not at all.
You got to work people.
Yeah.
But that sounded bad.
The reward can be massive though, and it can be a great payoff though when you do.
But again, when you get the payoff, the harder it is to get something, the more you appreciate it. And in sales, a lot of people look for easy yeses all the time, but and stay away for the challenge. But the challenge is good, because the harder it is to get that yes, the better you feel and the bigger the dopamine kick you get when you get the yes. So salespeople, I mean, no means no, but you just got to assume that when someone doesn't say no, like it's negotiating, right? If someone's still sitting at the table in a negotiation, still saying no, but still sitting at the table,
there's a chance.
no, it doesn't mean no. No means they walk out the room.
Yeah.
So when they walk out the room, you know, if you're a door-to-door salesperson and someone's still at the door with the door behind them talking to you, or in the house and not asked you to leave, they're still open to negotiation.
Yeah, and that would be the door shut and they're inside.
Yeah, you don't have to make people upset at you or not being rude, but if I was sitting in a negotiation and I was definitely not going to buy, like if I'm a car showroom and decide I don't want to buy the car, I leave, I don't stay and talk to them for 30 minutes.
Fair. So we understand that words are important. So how would you structure a sales pitch? What would be the structure that you would use be?
I mean, it's going to sound... It's the way you structured it when you're a kid. I'm going to say kid, right? Because I want everybody to realise that they've been selling their whole entire life. How did you structure a pitch? First of all, you waited till people were in the right mood. We call it finding a positive person, right? Somebody's got to be in the right frame of mind. But anyway, that aside, I think you only get one chance to make a first impression.
Yep.
So I think the first structure is to be, you have to put a lot of thought into how you're going to introduce yourself. Once you've introduced it, people will judge you. People judge based on sight and sound pretty quickly. The sound of your voice, the words you say, how you look and how you come across. You get one chance to make a first impression, and that's a lasting impression.
Yep.
So I think the first thing is you need to put a lot of thought into your introduction. I mean, you have to smile at people. You have to. But again, I know some people that don't smile as much and still do sales, right? So someone who smiles will attract positive people. Someone who doesn't smile might not attract that type of customer, right? But I think you have to give a good introduction when you introduce yourself to people. Hi, how are you? I think you then have to go into an explanation if you're cold calling. If you're someone that doesn't cold call, then you don't have to do the explanation. You can go straight into intelligence gathering and asking. So if someone's approaching you, you can ask questions about why they're approaching you and what they want. So if you're in car sales, why are you here today? What kind of car do you drive? If I was in car sales, I don't know if they already do this. What do you do for a living? Do you have kids? And quickly doing some intelligence gathering. Is it a sports car? Is it an SVU? Is it a 100 grand car? Is it a 20 grand car? And all this kind of stuff. But if you're the person going to them, and you're selling a car, but you're knocking on the door to sell the car, then I think the second thing is you've got to give them an explanation of who you are and why you're there. Because if someone knocks on your door or calls your phone, what's your first thought? Or stops you in a shopping centre, or stops you in the street, or walks clean into your business if they're doing B2B sales, there's two questions you have in your head. Who are you and what do you want? So I answer the two questions. When your door goes and you're not expecting somebody, you go there with two questions in your head. Who's in my door?
And what do they want?
And I actively say that to my wife sometimes because the door goes. Nobody ever comes for me. The Amazon guy comes every day for my wife. I joked the other day that they know her by name. I'm like, there's a photo of you on Amazon. There's Amazon.
Customer of the year.
There's not a day there's not an Amazon guy at my door. There's just not a day where there's not an Amazon guy. So when the door, or the kids' friends are coming for them, or my wife's friends are coming, or somebody's dropping something off for dancing, or picking a kid up, and so no one ever knocks the door. So when the door goes, I always say to my wife, are you expecting anybody? And she'll 9 times out of 10 say yes.
Yeah.
But the one time out of 10 where she says no, I say, I wonder who's at the door and what they want. And I get up and I go to the door and I think, and when I go to the door, all I want to know in the beginning is who are you and what are you doing at my door? If somebody stops me in a shop centre, I want to know who you are and why you stopped me. And if somebody walked into my business with a briefcase and a laptop, I'm like, who are you and what do you want? So I think a good hello, and I think there's a lot to be said about a good hello. It has to be a genuine smile. You generally have to seem happy and positive because no one likes talking to miserable people. I think a smile goes a long way with people. I think a smile, I call it having an infectious smile, like a real smile. You got to learn how to fabricate a genuine smile because you're not always generally going to be happy. That you don't always have to be. I think salespeople, people that get into sales think they have to be happy all the time. You don't have to be happy all the time. Sometimes I'm miserable, but you'd never tell You'd never tell, because I learned how to project a genuine smile. And this is going to sound mad, but when I teach people how to project a genuine smile, like I'm doing just now thinking about it, because I'm thinking about something I think is quite funny. So you've seen my smile. I felt my smile change here. My smile went from a short smile to a big smile. And a genuine smile is when you feel sore cheeks.
Oh.
If you're in sales...
Stretched out.
If you're a cold caller, if you work in car sales and your cheeks aren't sore at the end of the night, you never smiled enough at your customers that day.
Yeah.
We just never. Your cheeks, it takes a lot of... I don't know how many muscles, but it takes a lot of effort to genuinely smile. The other good thing about smile is when you smile, it makes you happy.
Yeah, well, this is what we teach, obviously, in like recruitment and stuff. When we're doing that, I always say to everyone on the phone, smile, and then that smile will then become contagious and it will turn into a genuine smile.
Yeah.
So fake a smile, and then it will be a real smile within a minute.
Oh, great. Have you ever heard me teach how to get people to smile genuinely?
No.
Oh, great. You can teach your people this. So I teach people there's a difference between smiling because you have to and smiling because you're smiling. So again, it's this, to genuinely thinking about something that makes you smile and it changes and projects. So we're visual by nature. So when we think something enough, it visualises and then creates a feeling. Seen Peter Pan before? I know you're from Zimbabwe, you've never seen a lot of movies. I'm not slagging Zim here, but there's a lot of movies never made Zim.
Snow White went over my head earlier.
Yeah, I was talking about that anyway. We're not going to talk about Mandela effect. We'll get into a whole other podcast. Anyway, it's freaking me out. Still freaks me out. But
he's very passionate about it.
Have you never seen Peter Pan?
No, I know the concept of it.
I do this with you all the time and I always get really disappointed. I would say to someone, we need to have a movie day. You need to have a movie year. Just to catch up with the good stuff.
No, hold on. I have watched The Hangover like you told me to. So I've done something.
Okay, watch Peter Pan.
I know the concept of it.
Right, so they fly, right?
Flying
they get Tinkerbell dust, right? The fairy, Tinkerbell gives them dust. And then in order for them to fly, they have to think a happy thought.
Right.
When I'm training salespeople to cold call, I tell them, people only know what they see and hear from you. They don't know what's going on inside your head. So when you watch, we do this wee test and we do it when we're training a room full of people and I say, okay, close your eyes. What's your favourite sports team or what was your favourite moment in life? I try not to be too cheesy. I try and make it really real. So let's say I've got a young guy that's a football fan. I say, okay, your football team's in the Champions League. Or you're Scottish, right? Scotland get to the finals of the Euros. You're in the crowd. We're 3-0 down. 2 minutes to go. But somehow we pull out the bag and we're 4-3 up and we win the Euros. And you're in the crowd. How do you feel? And you just see people's faces do this. I feel good. And you see that genuine smile because they put themselves in a moment that would make them, because it's projecting and the body doesn't know the difference. They're projecting in their head, so the body sees it, so it feels it. And a genuine smile, you could do it with kids. Right. Like I keep it, every time I get a picture of my daughters think it's funny to stick themselves on the front of my phone, right? So, but it makes me smile. So if I was going and cold calling people just now, that photo can't help. You see me with my photos of my kids. They just bring me, you taught me how to do the shuffle.
Yeah.
And I just see photos and it just makes me naturally smile. So it's easy for me. If I went to cold call a door with somebody and, I knock on the door, I just look at the picture and I naturally smile. And when the customer comes to me, I just naturally, I'm smiling. But I could also just think about that. And it would naturally project a smile. And if I'm thinking about something lovely that I do in my life or a moment in my life or some, euphoric thing in my team winning something, I naturally smile like this. And that goes a huge way because when you smile at people, it's infectious. And when people smile, they become happy and positive. A positive person is much easier to get time with than a negative person. A positive person is, you never go buying clothes sad. Nobody ever angry shops for things they don't need. People shop when they're in a good mood and they're impulsive. That's, if you go watch shoppers, when you go buy milk and bread, you buy it because you need it. But when you buy luxuries like phones and trainers and t-shirts and get excited about a sale, see, there you go, get excited about a sale. You buy when you're in a positive state of mind. So if I quickly can get somebody to shift into a positive mindset, way more chance for them, A, give me time and B, buying something from me. Yeah. So I think someone once asked me, what are you good at in sales? And I'm like, saying hello to people. I'm really exceptional at getting people to like me in 5 seconds. Just by saying hello, just by looking them dead in the eye. So it's meaningful and properly smiling and saying hello to them to the point where they feel like they already know you.
Yeah.
And I used to get this when we done street sales and event sales. When people would walk past when I was teaching people this, I'm like, if someone asks if they know me, it means I'm smiling at them properly and asking them how they are like I know them. Again, there's a difference between how you doing versus how you doing. You good? It seems a bit more genuine, a bit more humane, and it makes people feel like you know each other, and it makes a connection quite quick. And again, if somebody's miserable, it's not going to make them, but you're not going to sell to a miserable person anyway. So I think the hello, an explanation of who you are and what you're doing, and then I think all you're trying to do each time is buy time. I'm saying hello to get you to let me to speak, to explain what I'm doing.
Yeah.
When I explain who I am and what I'm doing, I'm trying to create enough curiosity with you to get you a little bit interested in, all right, explain it to me. When you explain it to someone in sales terms, that means you get a presentation. Your job as a salesperson, always, for every salesperson, is to build as much value as humanly possible in your product, because the cost is going to be the cost at the end. A lot of salespeople think they sell in price. I don't mean that's bad. If you're a salesperson that sells in price, you're not a salesperson. You're not. Just because I can give you something cheaper, you ought to sell it, right? Now, don't get me wrong, if you've got a crap product that's cheaper, then you're probably going to have to sell a wee bit. I'll retract on that just a little bit. If you've got an exceptional product and you just sell it based on price, I don't think there's a lot of skill. You're saving someone money when there's a cost of living crisis. You know, if I sell my petrol 50 pence cheaper than everybody else and everybody comes to my garage, I can't boast about being the best sales guy. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We used to give away insulation for free, and I felt guilty, and people were like, oh, I've done loads of sales, or you do loads of sales, and I'm like, not really. I felt guilty. I'm like,
give away a lot of stuff for free.
I have to sell it. I don't have to. I don't have to. But when real salespeople, exceptional salespeople, understand that they've got to get really good, so there'd be an introduction, then there'd be like a little explanation of who you are, and then they get into the presentation. But salespeople understand that when you present something, your job is to present something that's valuable to the person that you're speaking to. And the more the value belittles the cost, the more chance people have got of buying it.
Yeah.
Our brain works like that. It's cost and reward system. So the bigger the reward, the more dwarfed the cost has been. I can't change the cost of the bottle of water. Yeah. But if I make it sound like the most valuable water in the world, it'll make the cost seem worth it. Because what's £2 for something that's going to make me live 10 days longer? Not saying this water makes you 10 days longer, by the way, and I'm not punting.
Heard it here first.
I'm not punting Highland Spring, although I probably should get some money for them because I walk about drinking it all the bloody time and talk highly of them. If you're watching, I'd like some free stuff and I'll plug you. Highest pH. Anyway, I'm not going to get into why I drink Highland Spring until they pay me some money or give me some commission off their sales. But yeah, so I think a good introduction, a good explanation of what you're doing. You've got to create a bit of curiosity in your explanation. I think people are quite curious by nature. I think you've got to use, I'm getting into even doing sales here, things like buzzwords. If you put fantastic, unbelievable, great, words like that in front of something, it makes it sound, can I use the word sexier?
Yeah.
You're in sales. It's not like how we're selling this water today. It's like I'm selling this unbelievable bottle of water today. You put unbelievable, it creates curiosity. So there you go.
I also think something that's authentic to you though, because this is something I learned from you a while ago, is, so I learned it in the context of recruitment and on the phone and talking to people, like saying words that you would normally also say. Because I would never in my like vocabulary say the word awesome. That's just not naturally, if I was talking to people, I would never say the word awesome. Whereas, you know, if someone I learned from like a pitch from previously, if they were saying that, I would in the beginning say that, and you're like, but that's not you. That doesn't give off any authenticity when you're saying that. So I think buzzwords, but buzzwords that are natural to you, because you can see the unnaturalness of some of them.
I agree with you totally. It's how you describe a car or a dress or a pair of shoes or a bag or a watch or whatever you're into, or a holiday. Just, I use unbelievable. I don't use fantastic or awesome. Awesome sounds weird.
Started using lovely nowadays.
That's because I hung about with you far too long and use the word I do use lovely. I come quite soppy in my old age in the word lovely. I'd never sell with the word lovely. I'm selling this lovely product today. Do you know what I mean? Unless we're selling cuddly bears or something like that. But no, unless I actually describe the product. But unbelievable is a word that I would use. So I would say an unbelievable deal or doing this unbelievable promotion. If you think about it in your personal life so that people understand it's not just sales, think about when someone tells you when they went to see a movie or went to a new restaurant. If you say, how was it? And they say, it was good. They don't really ask that. You go, all right, cool. How was the new restaurant? That was good. How was the movie? That was good. But think about when someone says the word awesome, fantastic, or unbelievable. What do you naturally do?
I need to go there.
You start getting curious and you go, what do you mean it was good? What was good about it? What was unbelievable about it? What was it that good? Should I go see it? And you get curious and you get a wee bit of FOMO as well, which we call fear of loss in the sales industry. You get the fear of missing out and stuff. So learning how to put those words in things and your explanation of who you are and what you're doing to create curiosity go on. But then when you're presenting a product, again, a great place to watch how to build value in a product. And it's been a while. I've not told people to do this in a while, and I should again. Because we used to sell products and we used to teach people the value and how you handled the product. So if I just hand you like this, take it. So if I just do this and hand you it, it's not valuable.
No.
But if I do this...
Oh, it feels so expensive,
Champagne fingers, they call it.
Yeah.
If you do that, here, take this and treat it nicely. Like it makes it come across as more valuable. When you open a box fast, it devalues it. When you open a box really slowly and carefully,
it's like QVC or whatever that.
Which is what I'm going to tell. It's exactly what it is.
Is that what it's called?
It's exactly what it is. Exactly what people should watch if you want to learn how to sell something. Listen to the tonality.
Yeah.
Listen to the words they use. They use buzzwords. They use every sales trick in the book. There's a timer counting down. It's telling you how many they had, how many they get left. It's telling you there's a timer saying you've got limited time or a limited offer. You've got what we call reasons and references in the sales world telling you why little Mary from Mary Hill bought the knife set. And so they use all that. I love watching that. If you want an education on how to sell, because think about it, they sell products that you can't physically see. Nobody watches QVC. Nothing ever comes up in QVC you were thinking about buying.
No. Of course, bizarre mops and
the people when you apply to QVC things. Do you know that the people that go on QVC are either the people that invent the products or they're paid salespeople?
Yeah, well, we listened to a talk by Jamie Lima, and she founder of It Cosmetics, and she talks about getting her start.
That's right.
And how she kind of, I guess, blew up as she went on QVC.
That's right.
And it was because it was like her selling it, and because they said, do you want us to get someone to sell it? And she was like, no, I want to do it because, again, it's the most authentic. And she talks about how, because she went on QVC, that's how it's blown up and become the brand that it is now. And
if she wasn't good at sales, she wouldn't have blown up.
Yeah.
She just wouldn't have, it just wouldn't have happened. But yes, I think you got to get really good at presenting things and building value in something. The more value you can put in something, then the smaller the cost is. If I'm selling something for 100 grand, I want you to feel like it's worth 3 before I get to the price. If I'm selling something for 20 quid, I want you to believe it's going to cost you 50. So I always want to try, and when I think about building value in a product, I always try and imagine I'm selling it more expensive than I am, or I'm going to charge you more money than you're already being charged for the same thing, because that lets me put a lot of effort into how I present it and how I build value. Again, you put the value on it. The customer only knows what they see and hear. So, using your body language, using your tone of voice and presenting a product. But a lot of people present products badly because they do a customer service presentation. If I get into Primark and somebody shows me a t-shirt, they're not exactly selling me the t-shirt. You get into Armani, they're selling you a t-shirt.
Yeah.
They'll tell you where it's stitched. They'll build loads of value in it. They'll build value in the materials. Like, the higher up the food chain you go and luxuries, the more sales skill these people have to have. Someone selling a Ferrari needs more sales skill than someone selling an old Corsa, right? They need to be a higher level of salesperson because they've got to build the value in it. Because you're going to spend 300 grand on something, you can go get a car that takes you from A to B, not as quick, but it'll get you there.
Yeah.
You won't feel as sexy in it. Maybe you will, maybe you like Corsas, but how do these people manage to take this money? How do people sell products overpriced all the time? How do tech companies sell things for 100 quid for 2,000 quid? Because they're really good at building the value in it. And the bigger the value in your head, the more the cost is worth it. Why would we pay £1,000 for a phone?
Yeah.
You can get one for 100.
Name, don't you?
But why do you get the name? Because it's the value that it adds to you. the value of status, the value of confidence, the value of keeping up with the Jones. It doesn't matter. There was value built somewhere in paying that money for it. Something's justified the £1,000.
Yeah.
Something's justified the 300 grand car. Something's justified that somewhere. That's what branding and marketing is. It's building value in a brand so people buy into the brand. And the bigger value they build in the brand, the more money they can charge you to buy the product. I was looking at belts yesterday, and there's some brands that I like, and I still feel sick sometimes, but I like dressing nice. And I was looking at belts that I want. It was 690 quid. I don't know if that brand's justified that to me enough yet, because I'm having a battle with it.
Yeah.
But there's things I've went and spent 600-700 quid on like that, because I've seen the value in doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then your presentation, which is that, and then obviously you've got to do your close. I think a misconception in sales is people. I don't think closing's an art. I don't think people closing's an art. I think if you do a good enough presentation and build enough value, closes should be easy. Like the art of selling is to get people to want to buy without asking them. But the next structure would be it's called a closing question. So when I present so when I say hi and get you to like me and buy time and tell you who I am and what I'm doing, and you give me more time and I get to present my product or my service or my idea to you, and I build value, and then I've got to get you to make a decision, which is closing. And I think it's just, confident, fun, but friendly. People are bad decision makers. So I think you've got to close it. I think there's an important thing on the back of that, because in today's world, there's buyer's rights. People have the right to return things. People have the right to cancel things. I think a common mistake people make in sales is when they get the sale, they get excited and think the job's done and leave.
Yeah, the yes is finalised.
If someone's not happy with a car, they can take it back within 30 days. Contractual agreements have weeks if the customer's not happy. So I think the other structure on the back end of it is to not make people feel used and abused. So when you sell people something, when you sell someone a car, don't just give them the keys and high five them and let them go. It's called a consolidation. I'll consolidate at the end of things. I'll thank you for your business. I'll thank you for your time, because I'm actually grateful that you bought from me. Because let's face it, regardless of what you sell on the planet, there's a million other places people can go buy it. So am I grateful you said, yeah, 100%. Am I glad you gave me, yep, I show some appreciation. Make the person feel special, make them feel like I'm grateful for their business, which is a human connection.
Yeah.
But the other thing I do is to make sure that people understand that, one, they're happy with their purchase and their decision. But number two, they know exactly what they've purchased and what decision they've made. And I think the key thing, if you're a service provider and you're selling a service where somebody's getting a service and there's a contractual agreement and there's things going to happen after it, I think it's key to really make sure people understand what's going to happen next. Because if people have questions after they bought something, it's easier to give it back or cancel than ask questions and figure things out. So I'd give an introduction, an explanation of who I am and what I'm doing. You then present your product. You then get them to come to a decision, which is called closing. There's a difference between closing is getting them to say yes or no, and closing the conversation. Closing a sale means you get yes. Obviously, you're going to aim to close the sale on everyone, but closing still means getting the customer to make a yes/no decision on that specific thing at that moment in time. And then if you do sell to people, I think it's key to consolidate. I think if you don't sell to people, it's equally key to leave on a good note and not just run away and be abrupt. Because if you're worth your weight in sales, you're going to come back to that person and try again. So anybody who ignores us in cold emails, we maybe stop emailing for a while, but I'm going back to them in 6 months. So we always finish your emails on a good note.
Yeah.
We always say something nice at the end, whether they buy or don't buy. If someone tells us to F off, if someone tells us a flat no, I'm still going to be lovely to them, because I just don't know when either they're going to come back round to maybe wanting what I'm selling, or I'm going to end up back in their doorstep at some point.
Yeah.
Doorstep being in their business, stop them in the street, go to their house, email them again, call them again. And remember, we talked about the first impression being the last impression, but people won't remember the last thing he says. So just always make sure the last thing he says was super positive to people buying or not buying.
Yeah.
Most people are nice to the people that bought, not really that nice to the people that aren't.
And also, I think it's just in terms of like, for your own self and your own kind of like you were saying, you never know when you're going to go back to that person or when you're going to come back into kind of contact with them. But also, when you are selling something, a lot of the time people won't see the individual that you are selling the product or the service or whatever it may be. They see who you're selling for or the product that you're selling for. So I think also you're always on show. You know, if you've got the products or if you're wearing branding, if you're selling a service, you always are going to be on show. So it's leaving that good impression, because especially in this day and age, they're not going to go on and find like your Facebook or TikTok or whatever and leave comments about you. They'll go to the brand that you're selling and go onto their platforms and leave their opinions or reviews or, you know, their experiences there. And that, again, doesn't give the people that you are selling for a great impression of you. So I think it's even more so nowadays with social media as well. Like, it's so important to always leave someone. When we first started working together, you always said, I want to leave everyone better than when I found them. So even if it is just say, listen, have a really lovely day. Thank you for your time anyway. I think it's more important now than it even would have been 20 years ago.
I had that drilled into me. Everybody should feel better for seeing you that day.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in cold calling for 20 years and everybody should feel better whether they bought or not, because if you do that, over time, you turn the no's into maybes and the maybes into yeses over time.
Yeah.
They reckon it takes 7 times. They call it touching someone 7 times, right? It takes 7 times actually connecting and talking to someone before they make a purchase. And we know this for e-commerce and add to carts. The average person will get into their add to cart 7 times before they buy a product, even when they've put it in.
Right, so add to cart, then change their mind and go out of it.
Sits there for ages,
see another ad and then go in and think, okay.
Get distracted, go away, think about it, go away. And so whatever type of, because a person comes in to look at a car, if you leave a good impression, right, they might come in. I do that. I get into shops 4 or 5 times before I buy things. I'll see something, I'll talk myself out. One of the blazers I bought at the weekend, as Hugo Boss, it was the 3rd time for me, but only because it was in the sale did it impulse me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is the 3rd time I've looked at this. My wife the first time's like, buy it. I'm like, nothing. I talk myself out. I don't need a blazer. I don't want to spend more money. I always like, I don't need clothes. I'm not an impulsive buyer anymore. I'm like, I don't need it. I only got them at the weekend because I decided I was going to wear more blazers and chinos and less suits. And so there was a need there. But that was the 3rd time I tried that one on. The other blazer I bought was the 2nd time I tried it on. And so people don't always get first time. So I think it's imperative that you always leave in a good note, because you just never know. Because no means not just now.
Yeah.
No doesn't mean not forever. It just means not just now. That's in sales, I think that's what it means. And we sell products in a city or services in a city, the same services and same products to the same houses or the same businesses or the same people on the street for years. And some of the customers we sign up, let's say in residential sales, are people who are 100% with the same, we're in the same houses.
Yeah.
So evidently if they've not signed up, they told someone else no 3 months ago.
Yeah.
But if that person wasn't nice, the next person that comes round on behalf of that brand is going to have a harder time. So ideally, if you're selling a product or a service and you're going into the same territories, you're standing in the same shopping centre, the same street, you're going to the same businesses, you go to the same houses, people's jobs should get easier, because the more and more people that are nicer, that promote that, the more and more yeses people should get. And then people talk to each other and talk about, you kind of create your own wee brand. We've done that with a client for 3 years. We worked with a client. I can't say the client. Legally, I actually can't talk about it. We were selling for a client for 3.5 years, maybe 3.5 years.
Yeah.
We ended up, because of industry problems, 3.5 years later, selling the same product for nearly double the price. But if you can keep up with this for people that are watching, but get this, to the same people in the same areas, 3 years later, we're selling at double the price, but we were selling twice as much.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where people would stop our people and ask them for it, or people would say, I've been wanting you to come back round because I spoke to my friend. And it's because we went round, I think I calculated 12 weeks, so 5. We'd been round these houses about 15 times in 3 years. 15 times selling the same thing, but every time we went back round it was more expensive. So how 3 years later could I sell twice as much at double the price? It's because we left everybody in a good note.
Yeah.
And no matter who represented us, they were lovely to everybody. And so our people used to get welcomed. That's absurd in direct selling. That's the selling, sorry. We had people stopping our guys in the street saying they use the black guys. I'd love to sign up. I heard good things. Do you know what people say to people when they called the door? I've been waiting for you for 3 months.
Yeah.
That in my whole career has never happened. But again, it's because we've such a good culture. We train our sales professionals to treat people with respect and give a good first impression and give a lasting last impression to people and be lovely to everybody. Because again, what did we do? We turned the nose into maybes and the maybes into yeses. That's how we managed to sell double. 3.5 years later, at double the price.
Yeah.
That was the time where I'm like, this stuff actually works. And you're always going to get, if all your retail customers leave with a good taste in their mouth, and a lot of retailers don't do this. If I ran a retail store, everybody thinks the Americans are cheesy. Have a nice day. No. It might be cheesy, but it still made me feel good, which means the next time I feel like going to a restaurant, where am I going to go?
Yeah.
I'm going to go to a restaurant.
It's 100%. There's this a shop in town, a supermarket I go to in town, and I like some of the stuff a lot better, but also every time you come in the door and every time you leave the door, there's people on the doors solely to say hi and have it like, hi, how are you? And then also goodbye, have a nice day. And I go there because of that whole experience. You know, when you're at the chill and you're checking out, they'll have a conversation with you and, you know, they'll say, how was your day? What have you been up to? Or how was work today? Or, you know, at the weekends, have you got anything planned? Like, so I think it does make such a difference, the experience that you have. And it reminds me of a story that you told me a long time ago of you were selling to, or you were kind of cold calling this customer and you were talking to them and, you know, you were being lovely and things like that. And they were kind of quite confrontational and rude and, or not, maybe not confrontational rude, but they just weren't having a very good day. And they're like, I'm not interested or whatever. And I remember you saying that you said, okay, no problem, listen, I hope you have a really lovely day. And you went to turn around and the guy was like, okay, stop. Well, what is it you're selling then?
Yep.
Because you said you were nice to him and it came out as genuine. You kind of then probably felt a bit bad for kind of brushing you off. And then that ended up and resulted in a sale because, again, he kind of said, oh, he's a lovely guy. I feel bad for being horrible to him. And it helped you in the end.
My sales coach used to tell me, kill them with kindness.
Yeah.
I say, how do you deal with rude people? He says, kill them with kindness.
Yeah.
The ruder somebody is, the lovelier you be, and look them in the eye and be lovely. So the more horrible, the lovelier you are to them. Because most people aren't horrible because they're horrible. They're horrible because they're just not in a good mood and caught them at a bad time, right? It's just not the right time. Most of the time when I killed people with kindness, when they were rude to me, they were lovely. But I mean, everybody bought like that person enough as a guy or a gal. But they're always lovely back a amount of times. So the trick is to look them in the eye, not walk away and say, have a lovely day. That's patronising, condescending. It can be taken the wrong way. It can be taken as smarmy. I've seen that cause complaints. But it's to look people in the eye. And I used to apologise. I say, I'm so sorry if it was me that made you feel like this. Or it was me that upset you. I know it wasn't.
Yeah.
So I'm like, again, words hold weight. I'm like, I'm so sorry if it was me that upset you and made you feel like this.
Hand on heart.
Yeah. My hand on my heart. There's body language for you. It's empathy. Anytime I was saying sorry, I'd been
Hand
empathy. I put land on my lateral heart. Plugging something else, I should get paid for that. I don't even know what kind of t-shirt it is, friend. Someone bought me it. But yeah, hand on my heart, and I'd say, I'm so sorry if it made. And every time I've done that to someone, I'm so sorry. I hope it, whatever it is gets better. I apologise for bothering you. People would always apologise to me for being rude. Always.
Yeah.
No one never, not everyone bought, but people always were lovely, which is also, I suppose, I forced the last conversation to be a positive one.
Yeah.
Because if I left that conversation on a negative note, it's hard not to carry that onto my next sales call or onto my next customer or onto my next door, right? So that I'll carry baggage. So for me as well, it was forcing positivity to help me stay positive and help me keep my head in shape. Because if the last thing somebody says is the lasting impression, I'll remember that. So if someone telling me off and get upset at me and I leave in that note, I'll leave in a bad note, which means I'm going to start my next conversation in a bad one unless I'm exceptional at shaking that off. So I was kind of forcing people to be nice to me no matter what. And it was quite, I'm going to say powerful here, I think a lot of these things are superpowers. When you learn how to get an upset person who takes the mood out in you to apologise for taking the mood out of you without arguing, again, it's a superpower.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm so sorry if it was me that made you feel like this. Try it the next time you argue with someone and someone's shouting at you and you know it's not you. Look them dead in the eye and go, I would do it to my wife. I say, I'm so sorry, I love you. If it was me, I upset you. And she go, oh, wasn't you that upset?
Yeah.
Because most people are lovely. So when someone's being rude or obnoxious or aggressive, 9 times out of 10, it's not because that's who they are. You just happen to turn up and talk to someone at the wrong time or say the wrong thing at the wrong time.
And we've all been that person.
Yes.
We've all been on the other side of it. We've been that person where it hasn't been the wrong, like it's just been the wrong moment or whatever. And I think it's also just realising that those are humans. That's just people being people. And it's not personal at all. They were like that before they interacted with you and things like that. And it's natural.
You never know what's going on in someone's life, man. So, especially if I'm a cold caller. I used to apologise to people for bothering them at the end of it. I used to joke with it. I'd cold call someone's house and, you know, they'd sign up and I'd say, thanks for your business. I do appreciate how annoying people like me can be. When we rock up at your door in the middle of, I used to joke with guys and say in the Middle East Enders, or with women, I say in the middle of the football and have a wee bit. It might sound a bit sexist, but a joke. I say you're probably watching Coronation Street, so I apologise, guys would laugh. And because it is. It's irritating when someone calls you. It's irritating when you get loads of Facebook ads and the YouTube ad comes up. It's irritating when you're just in for a browse in a shop and someone's like, can I help you? Again, I'm the consumer too, and so are you, and we don't always react to it. So understanding cause and effect and understanding your customer and having a bit of empathy and realising they are just human, because we've all woke up in a bad mood and caused carnage with the first person that spoke to us. We've all wanted to get up and burn the house down. We've all wanted to get up and get all siblings in trouble. We've all got up and been angry at mum and dad for no reason other than we just woke up the wrong side of the bloody bed.
Woke up and chose chaos.
You did, and then some poor person knocks your door trying to sign. I was really rude to a salesperson one day, didn't realise I was rude, and my wife death stared me. I didn't mean it. I was in the middle of something. Someone actually cold called my door. I'm a cold caller.
Right.
I'm in sales.
Yeah.
He cold called me. It was a Friday night. I'm drinking a glass of wine. I'm in the middle of doing some work. Door goes. I have no time. I'm trying to get something finished. And I was abrupt to the person. I didn't mean to be abrupt. I didn't realise I was abrupt. I'll never forget turning around and my wife was just staring at me. And she's like, did you really just do that? Did you? You realise what you do, right? And I'm like, oh.
Chasing him down the street. I'm so sorry.
I did. The boy was selling charity books for £3. I shouted him back. It was pouring a rain. I says, please come back. He came back and I'm like, what are you selling? He's like, these things. I'm like, how much? He's like, £3. I'm like, there's a tenner, give me 3.
Yeah.
And I felt really bad. But what did I realise? When I was sitting in the house, I wasn't James the sales guy. I was James the customer. I was in the middle of working. I didn't mean it bad. I felt really guilty for being horrible. Not just because of the industry I'm in, but I was quite abrupt. But he just knocked my door at the wrong time.
Yeah.
If he'd knocked it 5 minutes earlier, 5 minutes later, it might have been a different situation. Because now if people knock my door, I respectfully have a conversation with them and, you know, I'm really lovely to them or whatever. But if I'm busy and I've not got time to do that, I can't. If you've not got time to stop for everybody in the street, you can't give everybody your time.
And it's like if you go into a shop, you know, and a sales assistant comes around and, you know, if you've gone in, you know you've gone in for this one thing, you've only got 2 minutes to get in and get out. And, you know, you're not wanting to have a chat with every sales assistant that comes and says, is everything okay? Are you finding what you're looking for? And again, it's not personal. So you can also be the person that's in a rush that's a bit like, oh no, I'm fine, I'm busy or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. We've all been the negative customer. We've all been the complaining customer. We've all been abrupt with some poor shop assistant at 18 who's just trying to do a job to have some money to get that weekend, and you know, it's her first day in the job and you shout. We've all been rude to a waiter or waitress. Yeah. Some people on purpose because they're rude, but for the most part just because we snapped.
Yeah.
I sent a message to someone the other day snapping on Friday and I didn't mean it. And I done it, I rushed it. Something happened and I reacted. I wasn't actively rude or openly rude, But when I read it 5 minutes later, I realised it sounded rude, and I actually sent him a message going, I'm so sorry, that was very abrupt. I forgot to put at the beginning of the message, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
I hope you're well. Could you please look at this for me? Rather than, hey, get this sorted. I was in a rush. I was in the middle of kids running around me, and somebody messaged me saying, this person's done that. I just went, 10 minutes later, I was like, oh, I even deleted it in the hope they hadn't seen it.
Oh, that would have kept you off all weekend.
I've still not spoke to the person, so, you know. But again, I'm not a bad guy. I just reacted the wrong way at something. It wasn't even angry, it just looked angry. When I read it again, I'm like, oh, that looks like I was fuming. I wasn't.
Yeah, but it's no, because there's no tone of voice, it's just words, like we were talking earlier about emails.
And I just hope they were drunk when they read it.
Forgot about
so
it.
Like, it's just him. Who cares how he feels? I'm just hoping because it was Friday, the person was steaming.
Yeah.
And they messaged me later on saying, I seen your missed call and I'm on holiday, and I'm like, oh, good, I hope they're drunk.
Yeah.
And that's when I would already deleted it. I hope they even read it.
Oh, brilliant.
Again, I didn't mean it in bad. It was just, I had kids running around me and I reacted bad. So again, when you're trying to sell something to someone and you just got to, you understand that, you know, maybe they're not being abrupt because they're a bad person.
Yeah. I think one thing that we've kind of maybe touched on a couple of times, we've mentioned a few times, is how much sales is such a psychological thing. And even like that's such a psychological game of how to say things and, you know, how to word things and stuff. But I think sales are so psychological. We always say, like, at some point we're going to take some time and study psychology and things like that, because they go so hand in hand. But how important do you think it is it for a person, if they want to do well in sales, to understand the psychology of sales and to understand the psychology of people as well? And how much does that contribute to someone doing well?
It's everything. If I had time, I'd love to go do a psychology degree. I'd love to go do a PhD.
I feel like you've probably done it in your time in sales.
I haven't
teach a thing or two.
I know I haven't formalised it. I don't know if, you know, I've read a lot of books. Again, I read that book the other day in How to Read Anybody. And again, understanding your own psychology and other people's psychology and how people's behaviours and values and thought process and triggers, and understanding that, I think is again, sales is dealing with people. And if you're selling to the products, will change and evolve things, but people won't. So if you want to learn the art of selling to consumers, then understanding psychology. There's courses I want to go on for this next year, and I'll pay 10 grand to do a 12-week course online, but I'm willing to pay that money because I understand the value.
Yeah.
The course is written by people who have PhDs in human psychology or human behaviours or whatever. I don't know what they're paid, but they're all PhDs, and this one a selling point. Smarter than me anyway. And I've not got time to go do a PhD. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I'm smart enough, but I'm willing to pay 10 grand to go learn more, because even now at this day, and that's the beautiful thing about sales is as people based, and the beautiful thing about that is there's so many different variations of people's and mindsets, and so many different, if you're talking about human psychology, we're all so different. We're all so different. So in most people's lifetime, they'll probably never, ever learn everything about everybody.
Yeah.
That's why people who enjoy psychology and people love it, because there's always stuff to learn. There's always room for growth. Still to this day, people will say or do stuff and I'll go, new one. Just when I think I know everything about everybody, something will happen, I'll go, never heard that before. Yeah, never seen that. That's a new excuse. Yeah. That's a new way of thinking. And so that's why I like sales, because it is people based. People, we are fascinating. Like, I look at people the same way David Attenborough would look at animals. Fascinated. Yeah. Completely and utterly. I stare a lot at people. My wife will say we're on holiday, stop staring. And I'm like, I wonder what he does. Yeah. I wonder what his name is. I wonder what she does. I wonder how those kids behave. I can't help but look at people and try and dissect who they are, what they do, why they do what they do. I can't help but look at people and go, why are they acting that way? What's the root? What causes that? Type of thing, yeah. Why is that kid acting out? They're not acting out because they're bad. There's a trigger somewhere, and suppose I would be good in therapy and I'm just fascinated by human behaviour and fascinated by human psychology. And I think people are puzzles. And I think when you start to look at that and understand, and all I want to know is if I press this button, what does it do?
Oh, I shouldn't have pressed that.
Yeah, whoa, wrong one. Trigger. Oh, sorry. Poke the bear. Right? You know, but what I want to learn is the instructions with people. Because if I learn the instructions, if I learn it, then I know if I press that button what it does. So therefore, I learn to influence you, whether it's from a management point of view, a sales point of view, a parent point of view, you know, a friend point of view. I'll learn to have more influence over you because I know what buttons to press. But only by getting obsessed by understanding other people will you know what buttons to press, and only through trial and error will you figure out that as well. But I think you have to get excited. I think when I read a lot of things in human psychology, I read things for me because if I understand me and my behaviours and my things, and that's fascinating too, because you also learn a lot about yourself, which also makes you better. At selling. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever stop being fascinated by other human beings. People are great.
I also think people change a lot. Like, I know at the beginning you were saying that people don't really change, but I think in some ways they do, you know, in terms of when you first started running sales teams 20 years ago, the people and I guess their maybe mindsets were different, whereas people now are very, very different to what the last kind of generation or the last wave was. And so I think it's something that you can never get bored of, because it's not always going to be exactly the same. Things can happen in the world, you know. I think people post the pandemic are very different people to what they were before, or there was a lot of kind of mindset. So you think maybe I've got to figure people out, then a pandemic shuts the world down and everyone kind of comes out a little bit different. So I think it's something that always changes people and always kind of makes people evolve. It's always something where people always change, so you can always study that. People are always evolving, so you can always study that. But something that you said there of learning about yourself, I think that is so important, especially in sales. I think you really need to get to know who you are first, because how are you going to influence someone? How are you going to be able to kind of, you know, take control of a conversation when you don't know it yourself? You don't know what works on yourself. So what would be your advice to someone to get to know themselves, or kind of get to know what makes them tick, or kind of what are the traits that they should learn about them?
Read, study, learn about your brain, learn emotions, learn emotional intelligence, learn yours, be honest with yourself. That's it. Look in the mirror a lot and have honest conversations. Press buttons and figure out how you work. Learn how to motivate yourself. Learn what upsets you and what gets you excited. Most of the things that I've read, I've always read. So when I've read books by like Eckhart Tolle, right, which is Power of Now, A New Earth, right, really good books which are fascinating. One's about having the ability to focus on the power of now, and another one's about dealing with your ego, right? Me learning how to get me more focused then makes it easy for me to get other people to focus. Me learning how to understand and have an ego and learning how to deal with my ego helps me understand how to avoid someone else's ego and or at least activating the ego to come out like the Hulk, right? Obviously, like you see Bruce Banner, but everybody's got a Hulk somewhere. Yeah. And my job in sales is to keep the Hulk out. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I want Bruce to stay in the conversation, because when the Hulk comes, I'm not going to win the conversation.
It's not constructive at all.
Oh no, when the Hulk comes out, you're gone. Yeah. Game's over, right? So for me, I mean, this will get into the coaching part and leadership part a lot more. I think you have to learn how to manage yourself and motivate yourself and drive yourself and lead yourself long before you can do it to others and influence yourself. How do you get yourself to perform at your best all the time? But that'll take us into another podcast, coaching and leading sales teams. So when we get to that, I think the most important thing there, from a sales point of view, I'm fascinated why I do what I do. Why did I do that? Why do I feel this way? I'm constantly questioning my own thought process, constantly questioning my desires. Why do I want the nice trainers? Why do I buy things with a label? Is it for other people? Is it for me? Like, why am I doing that? Is that who I am? Is it not who I am? Like, do you know what I mean? When I react good or bad to things, I think very deeply after it. You know what I'm like after things? I go into myself a lot. I ran a meeting this morning, come in and asked for your opinion. I'm like, was it good? I've been on in sales meetings for people for 21 years and my results say that I'm good at it, But I'm always questioning me. I'm always trying to figure out me. And that, I suppose, but that's another conversation. But I think just whilst I'm thinking about this, I have to say this, like, confidence is key in sales. You have to be confident. You have to be confident when you're selling. I think don't sell anything. Here's my rule. This is my personal rule, but I think it's good. It's a good rule. Confident selling is, I never sell a product that I wouldn't sell to my mum or my gran.
Yeah, it's a good way to, well, would you give them the rubbish green and white stationery kit?
Yeah, for someone they didn't like, 100%. Of course. Of course, I was very honest about that. Sure, my mum and my nana had somebody they didn't like. So yeah, I won't ever sell anything that I wouldn't sell to someone I love, let's just put it that way. Because then I'm always going to be selling something that I believe. You don't have to like the product.
Yeah.
You just have to believe it adds value to the people you're going to sell it to. Does it add value to someone else's life? Is it a good deal for someone? Is it a better service? Doesn't have to be cheaper. It just has to be better and add some real value. I think that's good because you'll always sell. Because I think that genuineness comes across when you're selling. I think, sorry, these are just wee sales things because I know we're short in time and nearly done, but wee things that I think are key for salespeople. I think when we're talking about ethical sales and having confidence, I've always went to sleep like a baby. 21 years in sales, I've never lied, I've never cheated, and I've never stole, and I've never said a word that I couldn't back up in a courtroom. With Harvey Spectra. Is Harvey Spectra?
Spectre, yeah.
Spectre, who in Suits as an animal interrogation, I always imagine he was interrogating me on the stand and he'd never be able to catch me out because I've always done that, and it's always helped me be a more confident salesperson because I know I've always done things right by people. I know I've always done things right by myself, and I know that I'm actually adding value to people I'm selling to.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything dodgy or saying anything that's a lie or a trick to get someone to buy something. So I think confidence is key, but I think, because if you're a scumbag, you know you're a scumbag. You're going to have problems sleeping.
Just accept it.
Yeah, just accept it. But you know that, right? You know if you tell a wee white lie, and you know when you can, you know when you're selling something to someone that you shouldn't be selling to them. So I would imagine or hope those people know that, or maybe they don't.
Yeah,
so
so numb to it that they don't.
Yeah, but I think you got to learn to trust yourself. So I think you've always got to learn to push past your own limitations or your own personal best, and you've always got to try and overachieve and be better, and that builds self-worth and that builds value. And I think the other thing on the back of that is when you are selling a product, like really get to know your product, really get to know the industry, and the best salespeople are always, I call them Wikipedias. They just know if somebody's involved with tech, they know everything. You see these people in mobile phone shops, right? They know everything about everything. But that gives the consumer confidence that they're dealing with an expert. And the more you can assert yourself as an expert, and the more confident you can come across with that product and that industry and that space, the more confidence you'll give the consumer in buying from you. Does that make sense? The devil's in the detail. So the person who comes across confidently, because confidently look you in the eye when they're saying stuff because they believe in what they're selling. Confidently look you in the eye when they're saying stuff because they know they're telling the truth. And confidently look you in the eye when they're saying stuff because they talk about facts, because they really understand that industry and that space better than you do. That sells. Because people can see and feel that stuff. People aren't stupid.
That goes back to what you're saying earlier about genuineness, and that comes across.
Yeah, but you can only be genuine if you do all that, if you know all that stuff, right?
In it?
Yeah, you can. And if I didn't believe in a product, I'd just have to admit I didn't believe in it.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that much, but you might like it.
Yeah.
And then explain it to them. And I'm sure people would. But I'm sure people, because I don't believe in it doesn't mean someone else wouldn't. I didn't believe in the books. I was more surprised people bought those books than they were. My best shot was my pitch, and when it worked, I'm like, I don't believe people actually buy this. But I give them, we used to call it like painting pictures. You give people a reason to buy something.
Yeah.
So we're not ending. I'm going to say some wee philosophies in sales.
Okay.
Sorry, wee mindset things that I think everybody. I'm trying to think of other things I've ever learned in my life. So play today, win today.
Okay.
It's not over till it's over. It's not the territory, it's the idiot in it. If people aren't interested, it's because you're not interesting.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I learnt that one day. I proudly come back. Proudly. So I had a problem dealing with a certain type of person because they weren't my tribe. They weren't me.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm from not the the poshest of neighbourhoods, and I'd had a problem dealing with which I deemed as posh people, which I now know were just nice people, and I was rough. So I'm like, they weren't posh, I was just rough. But anyway, but I had a problem doing this, and I remember my sales coach was like, if you want to be a good salesperson, if you've got these big goals, and you want to make the money say you're going to make, you're going to have to learn to sell to every different type of person.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I don't like those type of people. I was very opinionated. I was 23.
Doesn't sound like you at all.
No, not now. I like I love everybody equally now. But then, I didn't love everybody
Still
equally.
quite opinionated though.
Oh, very.
You love everyone, but you have an opinion.
Of course. But he forced me to go to a certain area to go deal with a certain type of person who I naively had a problem with already. And I remember I'd never been excited about having a bad day, but this day I was excited about having a bad day because I told him that those type of people wouldn't buy from a guy like me. So I come back that night and I'm like, and I was confidently, couldn't wait to tell him I had a bad day.
Yeah.
Because I was right and he was wrong.
Told you so.
Yeah, and I came in proud as punch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I done everything you taught me to do. I says everything he says to say, blah, 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 blah. Nobody was interested. And he just looked at me, didn't react, and just says, well, maybe you weren't interested. And I'm like, And in that moment, I learned the lesson of adapting and making small changes. And my job as a salesperson was to be interesting and get people interested. It wasn't just to find the people that were naturally interested. I'd realised then that everybody's good at getting people that are their tribe interested in talking to them because they're their tribe, you're already.
Yeah.
I was used to talking to a certain demographic of people because I grew up in those people. We all have a tribe that we're comfortable with, but we all have our people we're not so comfortable with. And so I think if you are in sales, you got to understand that first and foremost, before the product, you're the product.
Yeah.
And you got to learn, if you want to be exceptional at sales, you got to get exceptional at making yourself interesting enough for every type of person to at least have a conversation with. Yeah, that was a big lesson that day for me. That was definitely a big lesson. And it's not over till it's over. I could probably tell a million stories. A lot of salespeople give up all the time. I think business and sales, 90% of people's success is the people that have this stupid belief that they're still going to win no matter what it looks like or where they're at.
Yeah.
The sports people that win, and the greatest stories in sports are the people that won at the last minute or won in the last round or got the upset or done the bounce back. And so I think in sales, persistence is key, and just having that stupid belief and stupid confidence that you're going to find someone who can buy it or your pitch is going to work somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So I've had too many examples in my life where I nearly gave up, and I gave it another day, or I went to another door, or I says hi to another person, or we sent another email, and we just not wanting to, didn't feel like it, really felt like we weren't getting anywhere, and we'd done it.
Tip the scale.
And it just pays off. So that's the winning mentality. We call it, in direct sales where you got doors, we call it a last door mentality, where I'm still as fresh in my last door as I am in my first door, and I'm still as confident in my last door as I was in my first door. But if in sport, you got a minute left, you got a minute left. There's plenty. The most famous teams in the world are the ones that score in the last bloody minute, and all the comebacks and everybody's favourite game was the comeback game and not just the breezy win, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you say it's not over till it's over. Is it over yet?
29 minutes past 5, and we says we'll be finished at 5:30. So that's a wrap, folks.
Definitely over now, yeah?
Done. Capiche.
Oh, yeah. I'm not even going to say what we're going to talk about next time because we'll say something and it'll change. So we'll just see you next time.